There is a land hidden between Rome and Tuscany where everything is very reasonably priced, but history, tradition, people, really people, are fantastic.
Via, pronti? E questo è un inno al vino.
You can easily buy for what you can get, maybe a garage in Chicago, New York, or Los Angeles, a little piece of paradise with fireplace and with a garden. A lovely place where you grow older or you send your friends and family. Please check us out. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinct honor to go for the second episode of this real estate in Tuscia. I have my friends with me. I have a new guest. So let's get down to business. Today, we're going to be talking about Marta, a fantastic little place next to Bolsena Lake. So ladies and gentlemen, this is Roy. Hey, Roy, how are you?
Good evening. Oh, good evening here. Good day to you.
Yes, thank you very much. It is actually kind of hot in Los Angeles today, so I'm not particularly happy, but let's go on. So, Roy, do you know Bolsena Lake?
I know it quite well. I spent 2 weeks there with my son last year, right on the lake. A beautiful home right on the lake.
Just because I am biased, why with your son by the lake?
Well, he comes here every other year, and rather than staying here in Villa San Giovanni and Tuscia, they decided to rent a home in Bolsena because they love Bolsena. So it was great. It was fantastic. And I've been there many times. There's a boat that we go out on. You can rent this boat and have dinner and spend a couple hours, and it's just unbelievable. It's a fantastic deal. So, and a friend of mine, Filippo from the village here, has a boat there, and I go out on his boat. So it's just beautiful.
Okay, let's see a little bit of it, and let's see what we can say about it. This is from, of course, I got this video from YouTube, but this is Marta. Beautiful place, I would say. So, Roy, I guess you don't really know Marta very well because you like Bolsena a little more, right?
Well, I've been to Bolsena many times, but I've been to Marta a couple of times. There's a restaurant there that we go to once in a while. It's very beautiful, and walking along the lakefront there with all those boats, the fishermen in the boats, it's very beautiful.
Do you know this tower, the one that you can see now?
I don't know its name, but I've seen it.
It has a very lovely balcony on the lake. You can see all over. It's fantastic. Yeah. Okay, so this is Marta. I think that's enough for us for now. Because you are not directly a testimonial, we are lucky today. We have a native from Marta with us. His name is Adriano. Just let me introduce Adriano. Good evening. How are you?
Hello. Good evening. I'm very good. Thank you. Oh. So, what can I say about Marta?
Yes,
I always lived here.
Go for it. Go for it.
So, we have a very, very nice place. Well, you could say it's a little corner of paradise, you know.
Oh, yeah.
So, there is, in summer, you could easily find places to swim. It's a very, very pleasant place to live. It's very, very affordable, too.
I'm sorry, Adriano. I am a little bit old, so I need to know this. Where can I eat in Marta? Can I eat good food?
Well, you could easily find cheap and very good restaurants about sweetwater fish and also seafoods.
Actually, it's very well known.
There are many, many restaurants. You could also easily find tables in front of the lake.
Oh, yeah. Roy, next time I'm in Italy, I should take you there. Maybe we meet Adriano. It's a fantastic place to eat seafood.
Lovely.
They do a very good job.
I know, right out of the lake, the fish
Yeah,
dump. It's
as
great.
Adriano said, with the table in front of the lake. Okay, let me
Absolutely.
ask you something. I know I shouldn't use this word, but there is something that you guys call La Madonna del Monte, but we all call Barabbata. That is a
Bata,
very
yes.
unique tradition. What is it? Do you mind if I show a video and you tell us something?
Gladly, gladly.
Go for it.
So, the Madonna del Monte, it's how can I say, a religious tradition, and it is about the veneration of Madonna del Monte. It's like a local saint, and she has a local church dedicated to her. So every male in the population participate to this kind of festival, and once a year, everyone in this place builds their own. How can I say this kind of contraptions, and everyone brings them to the sanctuary, and then we have fun, let's say. We eat and drink.
So Adriano, let me ask you. It
Yes.
is safe to say that everyone feels this day like the most important day of the year.
Yes.
For
yes.
sure.
This is the most important day of the year for everyone, for every local, for every Marta inhabitant.
Do you
Oh,
know
yes.
which day of the year it happens?
It happens on the 14th of May.
Every 14th of May.
Every year.
Yes. If anybody's
Every year.
around Marta, please go. It's fantastic. Okay, very
It's
good.
really worth
So
it.
let me
It's
get
really
Roy
worth
back.
it.
Let me get Roy back. Roy, do you have a question for Adriano?
Well, I was going to ask, when is that festival? Because I'll definitely go. I didn't know about it, and it looks beautiful.
It's
So
fantastic.
You should come.
May
You
14th.
really should come. In the
Now,
14th of May.
you can go from the morning. I think they start at 4 o'clock in the morning, but nevertheless, whenever you go, it's a good time. It's fantastic.
Okay, you could also participate at 9. I mean, when the
All day. That's right.
people starts, when the true festival starts.
So, Adriano, before I let you go, would you recommend to consider Marta to come to Italy, visit, buy a place, whatever?
It's a very beautiful place. I always lived here, and let's say this is a very happy place.
Very good. Thank you. With this fantastic image, a happy place. Adriana, I thank you, and I will talk to you sometime soon in the future, okay?
It was a pleasure for me.
Thank you, my friend. Bye. So, Roy, there are people that are very, very happy to live in Marta. I understand that part.
Well, it's very beautiful. You know, quite frankly, any village in Tuscia is beautiful.
I couldn't agree more.
I've never been to one that wasn't beautiful. And, you
Right.
know, if anybody that would buy a home in any of the villages in northern Lazio would be quite happy. So,
By the way, Roy, because this is, for real estate, I want to show that people, or maybe the other direction, people have been coming to Viterbo. Viterbo is the center of Tuscia from all day. This is the Francigena route from Canterbury to Rome. And of course, they pass by Viterbo. So pilgrims have been passing here for 1,000 years at least, right?
right. No,
So you are just one of the last few that came to Viterbo from all over the world.
I'm the only American in our village. I can tell you that. There's in the Viterbo province, there's like 132 Americans. So
I didn't know the number.
well, that live here. There's others that have bought homes here, but they don't live full time.
Okay, so last question before we bring Walt in. Do you like that you are the only one American in the village, or you don't like it?
Well, I've said before, wherever I am, I'm very happy. And I left the States 15 years ago. I went back for 1 year. I don't intend going back to the States. I'm perfectly happy here. I have, my friends are Italian, and several of them speak English, and And because of the internet, all the people that I know in America, my family, we just chat on the internet, you know. So it's not like the old days where you come here and you never see your family again. So
in fact, I want to compliment your connection is fantastic. Your video is better than mine.
well,
Okay, let's bring on board Walt Bianchi. He's a professional specialist. His specialty are loans, and not only for Americans, but loans in general. So let me bring Walt Bianchi in. Hey, Walt, good evening. How are you?
Hi, Giulio. I'm doing very well, thank you. Good to see you.
Last time I heard a few women asking if you two guys are single. Are you guys single, you and Roy? Is that right? What's going on?
no.
Yes,
I'm
single.
happily married to an Italian.
It's pretty good. Okay, so Walt, you are the professional. So let's say I'm an American and I want to buy in Italy. How do I go buy?
Well, look, obviously the best situation for the buyer, not for me, is if you're a cash buyer. That takes care of all kinds of problems. You're not going to need to show proof of funds. The process is similar to that in America, but there's different documents required, different figures. There's the notary here is an important figure that we don't really use much in America. Think of it as the title agent or the escrow agent. It's kind of the notary here. If you are not a cash buyer, we have, and I'm a loan officer with the bank here, the only bank in Italy that offers mortgages for Americans whose income is in dollars. Every bank in Italy will offer mortgages for Americans whose income is in euros, but that's very few people who have that. Most Americans who are here with the embassy or foreign companies, etc., are paid in dollars, and they would have a hard time buying a home here. My company will go up to 65% of value, depending on the discretion. We don't have a Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac here, so it's up to the individual bank's discretion, the manager's discretion, but we can do up to 65% at very favorable terms, to 3.5% interest rate. So we do have this option for Americans.
Walt, given that we are doing a promotional video, can you explain the difference between Fannie Mae and Mac and so forth versus Italy? Because this is kind of an important thing.
Yeah, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are two quasi-governmental agencies. What they do is they provide liquidity to the market. They also they agree to, when a bank issues a mortgage to a buyer, the Fannie Mae has approved it and said, okay, we will purchase this loan from you if you want, and we will give you liquidity. This way, the bank knows that it has very little risk because it follows the guidelines of Fannie Mae, and it can always unload the mortgage on Fannie Mae, get their cash back, and be ready to lend new money. Italy does not have a Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac. Therefore, each bank has its own capital on the line, and that makes it a little bit riskier for Italian banks.
That is great. That is great. So this is something that we need to know because it's not all over the same. So, nevertheless, summarizing, best bet is cash. But then we cut you off, so that's not cool. And second best bet, up to 65%, maybe they can get a loan. So, Roy, I want to ask you, do you feel overwhelmed by Italian bureaucracy, or you think it's okay, we can manage it?
No, I don't. First of all, I don't deal with it a lot, but in becoming a resident and getting all my papers, it wasn't bad. You may have to go to two or three different government offices, but it's not bad. And it's, I became a resident within a year of moving here. So no, I haven't had any problems.
Same question for you,
Giulio, if I can jump in.
Please.
If I can jump in here, I lived here in the 70s and 80s. And I just moved back here at the end of 2023, in fact, on December 31st. And so I went through the process, as Roy was saying, of getting a certificate of residence, an ID card, sanitary, joining the health services. I found it vastly improved versus the 70s and 80s, okay? The trick is to find somebody who can guide you through the sometimes labyrinthine bureaucracy. Now, if there are agencies that take care of this for a modest fee, or if you have friends in these small towns, you're always able to find a friend who can guide you through. But it's gotten a lot better since the old days.
So when you say it got a lot better, what do you mean? What changed? Do you know?
Well, everything is on the internet these days. I applied for my residence. I got the form on the internet, wrote it, and printed it out, wrote it in, went down to the municipality's office and handed it in. Next thing you know, I got it. I applied for my ID card on the internet. Next thing I know, it arrived in the mail. My my National Health Service card arrived by mail. I renewed my passport by mail. Everything worked. It took a little bit longer than it would in America, maybe, but it all happened within reasonable time frames. Now, I remember back in the day, in the 70s and 80s, it was like pulling teeth. You have to go to 3 different offices. You form in triplicate. You had to have the bollo. There's the tax stamps on each paper, and it had to be this way. It's a lot simpler today. Everything is online. You have your electronic ID card, which goes a long way. I traveled up through Northern Europe earlier this year, just without my passport, just with my ID card, and so it's a great convenience.
Yeah, that's another great thing about being an American. If you manage to go to Italy and own property and whatever, you are effectively an Italian in many sense, and you can go all over Europe in a few hours with a plane, low cost and so forth. So let me ask you a very personal question. Can I give out your telephone number for any need of real estate or loans?
Listen, I tell people, please do. I have enough business cards that you can wallpaper your office with them. Okay, so please, I'm not in the business of hiding. I am in the business of being found. You may certainly give out my number. That looks like it right there. It'd be good to put some dashes in there so it'll be a little easier. This is my Italian number. I also have an American number for Americans wanting to reach me. That number
can you give me that one too?
Yes, it is area code 561, which is in Palm Beach County, Florida, and 561-430-8877. That would be a local call in America, and you'll reach me directly. Please remember, if you're calling from the United States, remember there's a 6-hour time difference from the East Coast. If you call me at my 2 o'clock, I'm probably not in the morning. I'm probably not going to answer. So
just to summarize, this is an American number. You guys can just call this number. This is a Walt Bianchi, but he lives in Italy. So remember, he's a few hours behind you guys.
It's a local call for Americans. So I pay the you pay to. It's free basically into Palm Beach County. I pay from Palm Beach County to Italy, so it's as if I were in Palm Beach County.
I would say the safest bet is to call you in the morning. No, Walt? American morning. Yeah. So American morning.
Now the Italian business day typically goes until 6:30 or 7 or 7:30. So in the evening, which would be 1:30, 1 o'clock, 1:30. So the morning and early afternoon is fine. Worst case scenario, you leave a message and I'll call you back the next day.
Okay, similar question for Roy again. So we figured that it's not as bad as one would fear, but you are kind of proud, of not speaking much Italian and living there for many years. Do you think it's easy for an American that doesn't speak Italian to go around?
Well, not the reason that I had no problems getting all this documentation is because my wife is Italian, and when you go to these government offices, nobody speaks English. So certainly not speaking Italian is a problem for Americans because not a lot of Italians speak English. So
but thank God there is everything, no? Go.
If I can jump in a second, Julia, what Roy says is true. Government employees, probably tend to be older, but the younger crowd all speaks some level of English. They have YouTube, they have the internet and everything. I remember there's a favorite restaurant where my father knew the owner back in the late 60s and early 70s, and they didn't speak a word of English. Now the current owner is his granddaughter, who I grew up with, and her English is fine, and her daughters speak English. So rudimentary, of course, but you can get by. An American today moving to Italy in places that have a tourist aspect to them will always find some people who speak some English. Of course, as you move to a country, or if you want to be functional here, learning the rudiments of the language is almost a requirement. Yeah.
Well, let me say when I have to have an important conversation with someone that doesn't speak English, I use Google conversation mode. And it works fantastic.
Yeah.
And if it's something like my mechanic next door, they don't speak English. And
that's true.
So I've got them used to it now. Before, when I first started doing, they were like, "Whoa," but I just put it in conversation mode, and the conversation's perfect, and we can both completely understand each other. When I go to my doctor, who doesn't speak English, it's the same thing. So Google conversation mode is fantastic.
Okay, that's great that technology on our side. But Adriano is still with us. I want to ask him a question live. Adriano, you still with us?
Yes,
So,
here I am.
So here is the question for you, and you should answer looking at Walt and Roy in their eyes. How much fun
Go
is
ahead.
to speak English with Americans? Do we like it?
Yeah, at least, I mean, if I want to practice some English, I don't have much choice, you know.
So can we tell every American, please go and speak the language because Italians will be happy to practice?
Yes, you could say so.
Walt.
More or less.
I mean, they'll be happy. Those who know a little bit will be happy to practice, of course, but you will, as Roy said, run into government functionaries and officialdom who doesn't speak a word of English. Maybe older, they tend to be older people in the municipalities, right?
Okay, so
Yes.
this is the end of my
That's
question.
true.
I want to summarize. Marta is a beautiful little place. Our friend from FRIM, Agenti Immobiliari, that means real estate people, work with Walt, and Walt has two numbers that are effective. One from Italy, so from Europe, for example, plus 39, and one from America. This is an area code in America, 561. Please remember that Walt is in Italian time. But once that is said, I think we all agree that it's a great idea to consider an Italian little place, to buy a little place for maybe 20, 30, 40, 50,000 and have a little piece of paradise. Let's go around in year in age time. Adriano, what do you think? Is it a good idea to buy in Marta and in Tuscia?
Well, I already have a home. Otherwise, I'd buy one.
Very good. What about you? Do you have a place?
I moved here just less than a year ago. I am renting right now, but in the next 2 or 3 years, I expect I will purchase something. I'm not in a hurry, waiting to see what happens. I go back and forth to the United States. I still have a house in Palm Beach County, so I'm waiting to see what happens here. But you know, I guess the expectation, you don't look for, you know, the 30 or 40,000 euro homes. Those are going to be at least in desirable areas, they're going to be run down. They're going to be need a lot of work and everything. You should probably expect to spend more than that. So, you know, that's where mortgages come in. But otherwise, you know, the price, but it's still very advantageous versus the United States. Furthermore, what a lot of people do here is they'll buy a place, a second home here. Maybe they reserved 1 month of the year for their family vacation, and the other months they rent it out, maybe 7 or 8 months. So you have some income. And I know people who are actually turning a nice, tidy little profit every year on these things. And so they basically have a vacation home in Italy that costs them nothing.
I couldn't agree more. And last question for you, Roy. On top of buying a place, renting is very reasonable in Tuscia, right?
It is. However, there is one problem with renting, and that is a lot of people that have properties don't want to rent. Because once someone moves into your apartment, it's almost impossible to get rid of them if they're not paying. Maybe Walt can confirm that. So there's some people here in the village that have some beautiful empty apartments, and I go, why don't you rent them? And you can rent them for the, you know, one of my best friends has a beautiful apartment right in the village, and with a beautiful balcony. It's got 2 bedrooms, nice kitchen. He could easily get, you know, 300-400 a month without even thinking about it, but he won't do it.
Yeah, you're right. Our friend Raffaele did a little research, and he found that 94% of the offer on the market right now in Marta are for sale, only 6% for renting. You're right. But that's not a problem for us because we want people to buy a place in Tuscia, so that's okay.
There are more and more, you know, short-term rentals, B&B type of rentals. You know, in our village now we have 3. I'm really shocked, you know. So
that's right.
And they're not expensive. You know, you could rent one of the B&Bs here for a month for several $100s, several hundred euros, not a lot of.
That is very, very reasonable. I agree. In fact, when I was in Italy first time, I rented a place for a year. I paid all of it upfront because it was only like $5,000, whatever, and I was done with it. So I didn't have to think. Okay, so last statement before I let all of you guys go. Let's start with Adriano. Adriano, is there something you want to say and you didn't have a chance to say?
I think I said almost everything. What do you want to know?
Very good. Very good. Same thing for you, Walt. Anything you want to add?
I'm going to say the same thing I tell people all the time in the United States. Look, Italy works differently from America. In America, you live to work. In Italy, it's the other way around. You work to live. And, the first question, if you meet people, you would never ask them, what do you do? Americans do that as a matter of course. But here it's the personal rapport, the personal relationship is much more important. So dinners take a long time, but it's great stuff. You eat and drink and enjoy the company. It's a much more personal based lifestyle than it is in America. And I love it myself. I suppose it's not for everybody, but people who want to maybe slow down a bit and begin enjoying life, maybe, tired of the rat race, you really can't do better than Italy. There are other beautiful places. Thailand is beautiful. I've been to Vietnam. I've been to, South America, been to Argentina, Chile, a lot of places throughout the world. There are many beautiful places. Italy has something that is unique, though, and when you add in the culture, the effects of the Roman Empire is still very visible. I was riding my motorcycle through the countryside here, and went through a couple aqueducts that were 2,000 years old. Where do you do that in the world? The Renaissance, just up the road, 3 hours from where we are in Tuscia, is Florence, where you can see the masterpieces of Italy has two world-defining civilizations. Most countries don't even have one. Italy has two. Italy is the heart of the Western world.
I couldn't have said better myself. And that's so fun to hear you, Walt, because you are not Italian, you are American, but you feel it the way we feel it. So that's
I grew up here. I went through the Liceo Classico, the classical. I did Latin and Greek and art history. So I'm both. I'm Italian. I have two passports, so I'm a dual national, and I feel both nationalities inside me. But I can appreciate the United States. I love Florida. I will always go back to Florida because I lived there a long time. But Italy is unique. And, Dr. Johnson, the English Elizabethan poet, said that a man who has not been to Italy is always aware of a certain inferiority. And that's, I think, the thought I'll leave everybody with tonight.
Okay, but because you opened this door, I had to just a follow-up question. That's another opportunity to have your kids to spend some academic year in Italy, for example, high school or whatever. What do you think?
Well, there are many. I went to an American high school for a few years here. It has since closed, but there are high schools. But what many Americans choose to do is a university year in Florence or Perugia or Rome. There are many, Milan. Milan is an excellent business school. And Rome's university as well. So the Italian universities are among the oldest in the world. Literally, Italy had a university, the University of Pisa, where Galileo Galilei taught. It's still there. My uncle graduated in engineering from the University of Pisa. So many Americans choose to do a semester or a year abroad in Italy where they can continue their studies. So yes, it's also a good idea.
Okay, Roy, we are done. The last sentence. So when are you going to go out and buy at the local market the produce for the week?
I did that today. I just went down the street 500 meters and I bought 20 euros worth of stuff that was grown, picked today. And it would have cost $100 in the States. Before I go, though, I wanted to say that this Friday, we have another Tuscia and Fiore fundraising dinner.
Well, that's great. Okay, so my friend, thank you all of you guys. It's already 30 minutes. He flew, as always. This is the number of my friend Raffaele. Plus 39 is the Italian code, 345-460-4683. He is the real estate agent, but Walt is a loan officer. So please call this number, the local Miami number for Walt. And thank you guys. I'll see you, all of you guys, in a month. So bye-bye, guys. It was fun.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Ciao. Ciao.
Regista, com'è andata oggi?
Bene, benissimo, come sempre. Ci vediamo alla prossima, Giulio.
Dalla Tuscia